important about the scroll that I bring today? First of all, the Torah has to be handwritten, and it's on parchment, which is animal hide. It has to be a kosher animal, slaughtered in the proper way. So it's I would say, 99.9 scrolls that you will find today in the synagogue are from cowhide. All right? And they are woven together with actually the insides of the animal. Okay, it has to be, it's all natural. Okay, you can't run this off at Kinko's or some other place, it doesn't work. Right? Yeah, it is handwritten by a scribe with a special vegetable ink. See, now you're using normal ink, because it dates itself back. The first scroll was probably written 400 BCE, okay, by Ezra, when he presented this. You know the story of Ezra and Nehemiah, the two individuals that reestablished the state back in 2,500 years ago. So it has to be done in the same fashion as it was done back then. Number one. Number two, and they'll have people come up afterwards. You have to use what's called a yad. That's a yad your hand, right? And a yad has to be used when reading it, because we're not permitted to touch the lettering. What do we have on our fingers? Anybody know? The oil. Exactly. If you sweat and if you smudge the ink, two letters touch, it is null and void. All right, now you got to erase that part, it has to be scratched out, and that section has to be redone. Okay, so the part that I want to teach about today specifically. And I just realized that I'm looking from this direction. Good. Hang on one second. This way I can see everybody while I'm doing this also. Okay. I'm reading now from Exodus. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm reading from Exodus chapter 36. It starts with verse 2. Is where this paragraph starts off. By the way, there are no paragraphs in here written. There are no sentences. It doesn't say, sentence 3, 4. No. All right? There is no chapter in here. You have to know what you're looking at. All right? So this is, from this section I'm looking at, it is chapter 36, verse 2. As a cantorial melodic piece that is sung when reading from the Sefer Torah, when reading from the scroll. The word Sefer means book. Torah it's an interesting, if you break down the word, Torah comes from Tur, Hey. See, most people think that Tur is a French word. No, Tur is a Hebrew word, to stand in a line. It's standing tamod b'tor. And when you stand there, right, Tor Hey is God's guideline of how we're supposed to live our lives. So everything is in here of how we're supposed to do things. And the reason I want to read this specific part because of the impact that it had on me, and I think on the impact that it will have on you. The story is interesting. Vayomer Moshe b'nei, the person would come up, they would recite a blessing, and then the person reading can also be the person reciting the blessing, if they have the skill. If they don't, then someone else will be reading it. A person traditionally stands, the reader is always on the left, the person coming up to do the blessings is on the right. All right. Now, the reason that is such is because when the person reads, they're usually using their right hand to point, right? God played a joke on me, I'm left-handed. Right? My father always called me Moshe Kapaya. Moshe Kapaya is the guy that's opposite. I was always opposite. So the person would come up, they would say the blessing, the person responds, Amen. So when you think amen is an English word, no, it's a Hebrew word. Which means, actually, Amen comes from the word emunah, I believe. So when someone affirms something, what are they affirming? Their belief. Amen. Vayomer Moshe b'nei Yisrael re'u kara Adonai b'shem Bezalel ben Uri ben Hur lemata Yehuda וימלא אותו רוח אלוהים בחוכמה בתבונת ובדעת ובכל מלאכה ובלחשוב מחשבת לעשות זהב ובכסף ובנחושת ובחרושת אבן למלות ובחרושת עץ לעשות בכל מלאכת מחשבת להוריו נתן בליבו הוא ואוהדיה בן אחיסמך למטה דן מלא אותם בחוכמה לב לעשות כל מלאכה חירש. The reason I read that to you, I want to read about two different people that had God-given gifts. One is Bezalel ben Uri, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, that was his grandfather. Lemate Yehuda, he was from the tribe of Judah. The second person that's mentioned here is Ohaliab ben Achisamach, from the tribe of Dan. So each one had, and it says here, Vayimalei oto ruach Elohim. He had the Spirit of God embedded in him. They had God-given gifts to create things. So, Bezalel, which if you break down, by the way, every name in Hebrew has a meaning to it. You don't just come up with a name and just give someone a name, and there's a reason for that name. Bezalel is Betzel Elohim, the shadow or image of God. Achi Samach, Achi is my brother, Samach, dependent on me. Achi Samach, that's his name. Uri comes from the word or, which means light. Uri, my light, or God's light. So each one here has an understanding. The point that I want to get across to everyone this morning, every person here has a God-given gift. Now, Bezalel used his for creating things. All right? We all have a God-given gift. So the person that's able to, for example, Ohaliab, his gift, Ohaliab. Ohel is the tent of his father. That's his name. He had the responsibility of building the pieces for the tabernacle. This is the first, quote, temple that's going to be built in the wilderness. So Bezalel was the person who was going to do the more complex stuff, the metals, the wood, the things of that nature that needed really a carpenter to work on this stuff and someone who understood how to do it, had that God-given gift. And Eliav was the person who was going to put the threads together and try making the different pieces that were needed, the tapestries that were needed for dividing inside. Right? But each person has a God-given gift. The question is, what do we use it for? Are we using it for creating, or are we using it for destruction? Are we using it for something that's good, or are we using something that's evil? You know, the person that knows diamonds, right? So he's able to design and able to put the diamonds together and make something of it. What about the person that knows, I know diamonds, so when I run the jewelry, I know exactly which one's to take and which one's not to take. All of us have God-given gifts. Right? If we're saying something, if we're teaching something, if we're doing something, what are we doing with the time that we have while we still have it? Does anybody have a due date on their forehead? We don't. Milk has a due date. We don't. So each time that I take a Sefer Torah, I take the scroll out, and I go places, and I try teaching people from an understanding of what's here. There are guidelines of how we're supposed to do things. And I mentioned before, with regards to honoring your father and mother. Okay? So Rashi, the 11th century commentary, gives a piece on with regards to why does it say kavedet avicha v'etimecha? Why does it say honor your father and your mother? Why should the father be first? Anybody know? Rashi knew. He said because the father is the disciplinarian. The mother, you naturally love the mother. She gave birth. She's the one that's going to be talking to you when you're crying. Okay, the father is the disciplinarian. So the mother is going to be there, so the father comes first. Now here's a question to ask. When it says about honoring your father or mother, does anybody know when that honor, and when does it end? Does it end while they were alive? Is it only then? No, it never ends. So when we think about our parents, I asked for beer, you get water. Sometimes you get emotional when you think about your parents. Amen. Traditionally, again, a prayer shawl is worn when you carry the Torah, when you have to read from it. The understanding, again, from this text, and it really gave me something to think about. By the way, the name B'Tzalel is the most prominent artist school in Israel today. Because they took the name and they said, wait a second, we can use that. His name will continue for centuries, for generations to come. Now, if there was a school named after Aliyav, no. That would be something to think about. Maybe someday someone starts name a school after him. By the way, when this ends, so this is the end of Exodus. The Torah portion is known as Pikudei. Pikud is a commandment. Because everything in this last section is about commandments. God telling him, build the tabernacle. And people donating. Right? Each person, it says, the text is made here. ויאמר משה אל כל עדת בני ישראל לאמור הדבר הזה אשר ציווה אדוני לאמור קחו מאיתכם תרומה לאדוני כל נדיב ליבו. Everyone who has generosity in their heart to donate. Right? You will notice, good pastor, that in the gifts that I've received this morning, there's a $2 bill. That's my trademark. Someone will know I was here because it was a $2 bill. The understanding of the text here, right, it is very clear. God is telling Moshe, El Kol Adat B'nai Yisrael, to the entire community. Everyone, the Eidah is a division, the entire division that's there, everybody there. He says to him, this is what God is telling him to tell them. Hu me'itchem. Take from you, Truma, litrom is to donate. L'Adonai kol nediv libo, someone who is generous in their heart. Yeviyah Trumat Adonai zahav v'chesed, gold, silver, nechoshet, copper, tchelet v'argaman, to bring in the materials. All right, the argaman is, what's the one in purple? Give me a purple one. Yes. Okay. The different stones that to be able to come up with. When they left Egypt, they didn't leave poor. They had stuff that was taken with them. All right. But the fact of the matter is, now you have it. Are you willing to donate it? Are you willing to bring the? It's not about God. See, it's about the community. The community needs the sanctuary. If you don't have this sanctuary, people, what are they going to do? I'll tell you what they're going to do. They're going to wander in the casino. We need sanctuaries for a reason. This is part of this understanding. Did I go over my time?
No.
But the importance of this understanding, I'm going to read to you one other piece here, because this is the Torah portion for Pekudei is Vayakel. And that the word comes from the word Kihila, the community. So it starts off, Amen. Vayakel Moshe kol adat bnei Yisrael vayomer alehem el hadvarim asher tziva Adonai la'asot otam shesh yamim ta'aseh melacha ubayom hashvi'i yeh lachem kodesh shabbaton l'Adonai kol ha'oseh bo melacha yumad lo tvaru esh b'chol moshvotechem b'yom haShabbat. Moshe is to call the community together and tell them, Vayomer Alehem, say to them, Eila hadvarim, these are the words that God commands for you to do. Sheshet yamim ta'aseh melacha, 6 days you are to create, not work, create. Ubayom hashvi, on the 7th day, Yeh lachem kodesh, it will be sanctified for you. Shabbat Shabbaton, it is a special sabbatical for that week. Every week there's a sabbatical. Kol ha'oseh bo melacha, anyone who creates, mot yumad, he will definitely die. The restrictions for not adhering to the law back then, okay, you're not going to court, you're going to a second court and bringing it up for a discussion to the third court and bringing it in, no, it doesn't work that way. If there are two witnesses that will say that you created on the Sabbath, you're stoned. Life is over. Why? Because if you break rules, you cease to exist as a society. The society needs to continue. But if you're breaking rules, you're not there. There are certain rules you can break. But if you break the Sabbath, there's no justification, and there's no coming. There is a justification for breaking the Sabbath. Who knows what it is? I got a $2 bill if you can tell me what it's for. Come on.
Show mercy.
You're in the ballpark. It's not just a matter of showing mercy. Here's the two. What is it for breaking? There's a permission to break the Sabbath for one purpose.
Saving life.
Somebody call out loud.
Saving life.
Who was that?
Saving life.
Saving a life. Saving a life, you are permitted to desecrate the Sabbath. I argued with my friends in Israel, because in the Orthodox community they will run to save a life for a human being, but not for an animal. And I said, but it says in Leviticus, all right, it says, "Hanefesh badamhi," the blood is in the animal, the soul is in the blood of the animal. And that applies to mammals and birds. What do mammals and birds have in context with people, with human beings? We all feed our young. Snakes don't have it, fish don't have it. Birds and mammals, specifically in Leviticus, it says, "Hanefesh badamhi," that the soul is in the blood. When in Judaism, when we slaughter an animal, what do we do with the blood? You cover it. You pour it on the ground and you cover it. Why? Because the soul is in it. So these are things that, and the rules are very clear how we're supposed to live our lives. That's what the Torah is about. And I will stay here and have the opportunity for people to come up afterwards. But good Pastor, again, I appreciate the time.
Oh, we appreciate it.
May I ask a question?
Yes, dear.
And what is the definition of to create?
Good question. Well, the question is, what is the definition of to create? Something that didn't exist beforehand, now it exists. So it says here, all right, Lo tivaru eish b'chol moshotehem b'yom hashbat. You cannot bring a fire. You can't light a fire on the Sabbath. That's creating. Now the question comes about: if the fire exists, but I want to transfer it, can I transfer a fire on Shabbat? And the answer is no, because it didn't. It's here, but now you're creating it in the second place. So, for example, on holidays, Passover, the Feast of Tabernacles, and such, we're able to transfer a fire, but because it's not the Sabbath. But on the Sabbath, to create a fire, all right. The electricity company loves me because I leave lights on all Shabbat, the whole Sabbath. Anybody want to know what my electric bill is? They're on. It's fine. Okay. Could I put timers on all the lights in the house? Not worth my time. Okay. But because I don't turn on and off lights on the Sabbath, that's creating. A second ago, it didn't exist. Now you close the circuit, it does exist. So we don't cook on the Sabbath. I can heat something up, but I will not cook it if it's it's not cooked beforehand. So we have a hot plate that does work on a timer. But one day I'll explain to you how my wife cooks. We know when she's finished cooking when the smoke detector goes off.
Mean.
I actually, I left my phone in the car because I didn't want to be disturbed during this. But I actually have a picture of what my fish looks like because I eat burnt, but through and through. One day I'll show you the picture. At any rate, I'm going to close this up for now. So again, the scroll is written. It takes approximately a year for writing a scroll, just so you have an idea. All right, and if this was to be brand new, this one's probably somewhere between 25, maybe 40 years old. Okay, I brought it back from Israel this past year. I was fortunate enough to be able to find one. A brand new one to have written by a scribe, because they would have it written for someone, and then I'm going to finish this up, would cost somewhere between $25,000 and $40,000 to have one written, because it takes the scribe a year. It's not like you just sit down and start writing, okay? You have to focus on it. You have to be mentally aware of what you're doing. You can't have two letters made mistakes, okay? Because it's null and void. So you have to, if you write some, you go to something else. You continue writing, you go to something else. You can't keep coming back to this, the same nonstop, because it wouldn't work. The cover that this Torah, I found an extra cover at the facility that I was at when the person showed me in the store that he had these scrolls. But the reason I wanted this one specifically, because it resonated within me. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah udvar Adonai miYerushalayim. All right, from Zion comes forth the Torah and the word from God in Jerusalem. Okay, that comes straight from here on the top. The bottom portion is what really made an impact on me. Remember the word we said about being generous, nadiv. Nidvat, generously, Rab Shlomo Neumann Varayato, Mr. Solomon Neumann and his wife, Lezecher Beno, in memory of his son, Raphael Aaron, of blessed memory, Shenafal b'Mecheled Yom Kippurim, that fell in battle in the Yom Kippur War in 73. So they had a Torah written, and they had a cover made in memory of their son. Having served in the 73 war, this one made sense to me to have this one. So I will just close this up, hand the microphone over to the good pastor, so he doesn't have my tonsils. By the way, there's something I tell people all the time. I can compensate for money lost. I play poker 3 to 4 times a week. Right? I can never compensate for time lost. Thank you for being here and for your time.
As Ken knows, you took my next Sunday sermon, because what's my next Sunday sermon about, Ken? The Sabbath? It was a fabulous rendition of it. Okay, now we're going to do Baruch time, so we're going to say and thank you for that, and God bless all. So what we're going to do is take a little time to pray, joys, concerns, announcements.
The Lord be gracious. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.
Amen. And with that, we will now have our responsive departing.